Hey, do you know what today is? No idea? Well, today's the day that we find out if all those highly touted quarterbacks from the 2021 draft class actually have a chance to break out or bust in 2022.
Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today, where, as you can tell, the hat is backward and we're buckled up for another banger today because we're talking about last year's rookie quarterbacks. That's right, the 2021 NFL draft class. A lot of quarterback talent, a lot of talent that underperformed last year. But what about 2022? Are they in line to break out? Could they bust? Could they create a bunch of other fantasy assets? That's what we're talking about in today's episode, so make sure you hit that like button. If we can hit 800 likes on this video, I'll give away a free draft guide to somebody who leaves a comment down below, so make sure you hit the like button and leave that comment. As for the draft guide, don't forget either, it's available for pre-order on our website right now, thefantasyheadliners.com. Over 600 virtual pages of everything you need fantasy football, and we're going to be running a giveaway here for that. I don't care if you pre-ordered yours back in November or if you haven't done it yet. You have till the end of June to pre-order your draft guide, and we're going to be selecting a random person who has pre-ordered their draft guide through the month of June for a signed Deebo Samuel full-size San Francisco 49ers helmet. Could we be talking about his potential quarterback today in Trey Lance? Probably, but you don't want to miss out. This thing is sick. The matte black, signed in gold, Deebo Samuel full-size helmet. All you got to do, get your draft guide pre-ordered by the end of June, and we'll be selecting a random winner. But now is the time where we dive into the content, and the first quarterback up was the first one off the board, Trevor Lawrence. Now, when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, I don't think anyone expected him to go into Jacksonville and just turn them around completely in 1 year. You would have had to been on some next level stuff, if you know what I'm talking about, if you really believe that. But what we really wanted to see was progression throughout the season. What's crazy, though, is as the season went on, it seemed like he lost more and more confidence in his ability to make plays on the field. He played so much better the first third of the season than he did down the stretch. In fact, from weeks 9 on, he only had 4 total passing touchdowns. He had 7 weeks last year in which he didn't even have a passing touchdown, and that is a problem. So what happened in 2021? Well, the team was bad, right? Obviously, they're always trailing, and they're having to throw the ball a ton. Trevor Lawrence had 602 pass attempts as a rookie. That's the 7th most among all quarterbacks in the NFL, and he had to do it as a rookie. Anytime you ask a rookie to throw the ball that much with the limited weapons that he had, bad things are going to happen. Plus, it's not like the offensive line was really helping him much out there. Trevor Lawrence had 138 throws under heavy pressure, 2nd most in the NFL among all quarterbacks, and that resulted in him throwing 50 interceptable passes, which was also most in the NFL. Then you look at his true completion percentage, and you immediately want to gag, right? It was 66.2%, which ranked 32nd in the NFL. But this is why we don't just like to look at surface stats. We like to go deep, really deep. And when you do that with Trevor Lawrence, the pieces start adding up a little bit better. Did you know that the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receivers dropped a total of 43 passes last season, most in the NFL of any team? Had those passes been caught, what would the numbers have looked like for Trevor Lawrence? Of course, they're going to be a little bit better. He also may have benefited from having his true wide receiver 1 for more than 3 games, which is pretty much all he had DJ Chark for. Then you add in the whole Urban Meyer fiasco and having to change coaches mid-season. He did show some glimpses throughout the season, though it just was never consistent. But if you go back and even just watch his season highlights, if you were to go to the NFL channel or search for Trevor Lawrence highlights and just look at the NFL YouTube channel at his season-long highlights, majority of those highlights are great plays being made by his wide receivers or just basic out routes that he's hitting in stride. Nothing absolutely crazy is popping off consistently, but his rushing upside is definitely one thing that was shown consistently. Top 10 among all quarterbacks in carries, red zone carries, and rushing yards. So what is different here now in 2022 for Trevor Lawrence? Well, he's lost DJ Chark. They've added Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, and they get Travis Etienne back from injury. That's a huge, huge gain for the offense right there. They lost starting left guard Andrew Norwell. They added right guard Brandon Scherff from Washington. They also drafted center Luke Fortner in the 3rd round. They have a new head coach in Doug Peterson, and we know he likes to throw the football. During his last stint in Philadelphia, his offense ranked top 10 in the NFL in pass attempts 4 of the 5 years he was there. Their offensive line ever so slightly improved. The coaching situation is a big improvement, but this is going to be another uphill battle for one Trevor Lawrence. Sure, we talked about, bringing in the likes of Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, but those are 2 guys that also have struggled with drops at times in their career. So is it really going to be that big of a help? Sure, overall, maybe slightly. Is it going to be difficult for Trevor Lawrence to break out in 2022 with the current roster they have right now, even though they spent $1 bajillion? Maybe next year for Trevor Lawrence, because I'm not really seeing it right now. He just needs more top-level talent around him on the offensive side of the football to really help him take that next level. Even though they spent the money, I don't know if they see the actual production come back for it. What about Zach Wilson? And it's obvious, it's on record, you can pull receipts whenever you like to. I've been a big Zach Wilson guy. I've had Wilson over Lawrence since they were drafted. And not so much based off of just talent, but what was around the actual quarterback. Now, maybe it's because this guy plays in New York. Maybe it's because his mom brings him to practice or whatever it may be. But why is Zach Wilson hated on so much? I'm a big Zach Wilson believer, like I said, and I love what I saw from him and what they're doing around him here this year. We talked about Trevor Lawrence seeming to kind of lose confidence in himself as the season progressed. That is not the case for Zach Wilson. He continued to lose weapons around him, yet he continued to get better and better despite the surface stats. Remember, go deep, because when you go deep here with Zach Wilson, you kind of get the bigger picture, right? And plus, let's not forget, he missed 4 games with injury last year as well. But what all happened in 2021? Well, similar to Trevor Lawrence, Wilson was given a bad overall team. They weren't great in New York. He had to play at times with his top 2 wide receivers missing. Corey Davis and Elijah Moore both missed time throughout last season. He became reliant on a dude whose Twitter handle is @HoneyNutBerrios. I'm serious. Now, no disrespect to Braxton Berrios. He's a solid slot wide receiver, but that's not enough for Zach Wilson to be a top-tier quarterback in the NFL. Plus, he lost his starting left tackle, Mekhi Becton. He really struggled getting used to the speed of the NFL. Things that he got away with in college, he couldn't do in the NFL, and there was a learning curve there to start the season. But it was little things. It was his drop back. He would take a short little extra step or a little hop, and it would throw his timing off with his wide receivers. But after returning from injury, he was able to identify that and correct it, which is huge. This guy didn't throw an interception over the last 5 weeks of the season. But like Trevor Lawrence, though, his wide receivers didn't help him much last year either. The Jets, they dropped a combined 41 passes themselves, 3rd most in the NFL. So what's different this season for Zach Wilson? Elijah Moore back and healthy. Corey Davis back and healthy. They drafted Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. They brought in Breece Hall to add with Michael Carter in the backfield. They also brought in 2 solid tight ends. And these signings, I believe, are going way under the radar because this could really give him a safe outlet across the middle in CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin out of Minnesota. Plus, they added left guard Laken Tomlinson from San Francisco, and Mekhi Becton should be back and healthy. Now, in the second full year of a Robert Saleh offense is a huge breakout coming for Zach Wilson. Maybe not monumental, but I am definitely expecting a huge improvement in Zach Wilson, not only in his play, but in his fantasy numbers. Could he have a solid fantasy season this year? Abso-freaking-lutely, I believe he can. I'm excited to see what he does here this year. Now, a quarterback that a lot of people want to talk about a lot, and it's Trey Lance of the San Francisco 49ers. And what a lot of people are saying is, hey, is it Trey Day in the Bay? I mean, what is San Francisco waiting for out there? Are they allowing Jimmy G to fully heal, kind of wait and see for the coming weeks? If a team has a quarterback go down that needs one, then they can try to sell Jimmy G high? And if that doesn't happen, do they just cut him? What is going on here in San Francisco? This kind of feels like a Patrick Mahomes type situation. No, I did not just say that Trey Lance is the next Patrick Mahomes. The overall situation, when we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with Alex Smith and when Patrick Mahomes take over, that situation feels a little bit similar as of right now. But when we look back at 2021, there's not a whole lot to really look at. We can't really go very, very deep on Trey Lance, because there's not a whole lot to really look at. He only appeared in 6 games, started 2, went 1-1 in both of those games. He wasn't really asked to do much. However, he did show some big-time rushing upside when given the opportunity. But Jimmy G was out there. He was winning games, so we never really got to see a consistent Trey Lance in this offense. I don't hate that, though. I believe they went about it the right way. The kid was super raw coming out of college and needed some time to progress, and taking 2021 basically off was probably the best thing for this kid. Now, what is different in 2022? Well, not a whole lot. His teammate and our giveaway helmet, Deebo Samuel, isn't exactly happy. Is he pissed? I don't know. Are they going to keep him there? More than likely. They lost Raheem Mostert, but they drafted TD Price out of LSU. But right now, as of the time of this recording, Jimmy G is still a 49er. But what I can tell you is this. Kyle Shanahan and this offense caters to any player who gets an opportunity. I don't care what your name is. If you get a chance in this offense, you will produce around Kyle Shanahan. Whoever gets those touches puts up fantasy points. It's just the way it is. If Trey Lance starts, I am all over it. I am 6 to midnight on Trey Lance. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Elijah Mitchell, plus the rushing upside of Trey Lance alone, I'm almost drooling right now. The breakout is totally dependent on the opportunity, though. If he gets the opportunity, the breakout is coming. If he doesn't, it's another year of sprinkled in Trey Lance and a whole lot of Jimmy G, maybe until he gets hurt or if they're losing games. But right now, you have to think Trey Day in the Bay is right around the corner. How about Justin Fields, though? It can't just be me, right? Does everybody want this kid to succeed except for the Bears? I mean, they're just throwing him to the wolves, and I absolutely hate to see that. Can you think of another team that drafted a quarterback this high and then for multiple years basically gave him a whole lot of nothing? I mean, what really happened in 2021? Well, honestly, the biggest thing that happened was Matt Nagy, and that sucked because Matt Nagy put Justin Fields in a horrible position, continually putting him in as a position to fail, gave him no freedom in the offense, horrible overall play calling. The kid only threw 270 total pass attempts, and yet 70 of them were under heavy pressure. I mean, we're lucky this kid can move. We're lucky he can run. He was top 10 among all quarterbacks in carries and rushing yards because he had to, because he had no pocket consistently. So what is different for this year? Well, no more Matt Nagy. Thank you, sweet Lord baby Jesus, for that. It can only get better. It can't get much worse. Well, they've brought in head coach now, Matt Eberflus, who's a fun name to say. He's the former defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts. They've lost Allen Robinson. And then they've added, sit down. Just sit down and prepare yourself for this one. Equanimeous St. Brown, Byron Pringle, Dante Pettis, and then they drafted Velus Jones. What are we doing? Like, you lose Allen Robinson and you replace him with on the field. Then they brought in backup quarterbacks Trevor Siemian and Nathan Peterman. Are you kidding me? That's really starting to get to the point where I'm questioning some of their decision making. Add into the fact that they have the worst offensive line in the NFL. He's got nobody to throw it to other than Darnell Mooney on the outside. I don't mind Cole Kmet at the tight end position, and then Demont in the backfield, but that's not a whole lot. He's going to be running for his life with limited weapons to help bail him out. I love the talent of Justin Fields, but I do not see the breakout coming here in 2022. I blame the team, not the player. He just needs more around him. Now, I know a lot of Bears fans out there are super excited for Justin Fields. I am too. I like Justin Fields. I am a Justin Fields supporter. The Bears right now are not a Justin Fields supporter. What about Mac Money Jones? And really, Mac Jones producing, being somewhat solid in 2021 shouldn't have been a surprise. Doing it with the weapons that he had, though, that was slightly surprising, right? Finishing 10-7, 3,800 passing yards, 22 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, completed just under 70% of his passes, and he really took whatever the game gave him. And in 2021, he wasn't really asked to do a whole lot, but what was asked of him, he did very, very well. He excelled in reading opposing defenses and understanding the offense in his very first year. New England, though, really relied heavily on the running game to take away some of that pressure. They spread the ball around the offense because they really didn't have a true alpha wide receiver there. They played great overall as a team, and they even outscored opponents 211-63 between weeks 7 and 12. Played great team football, but what has changed here for 2022? Well, they've added fantasy Bigfoot Devontae Parker, which I do love. They drafted wide receiver Tyquan Thornton, which I do really like. They brought back James White. They lost right guard Shaq Mason and left guard Joe Tooney, but they drafted right guard Cole Strange, which was a little strange, in the first round. But most importantly, in my opinion, they lost offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. Who calls the plays now in New England? You gotta believe that Belichick's still going to be involved. Matt Patricia's name is in the mix, and please don't let that actually happen. It really comes down to how much does this offense change, if any, because I like the added weapons that they have there for Mac Jones. It's really hard to sit here and expect a huge breakout given how well he played in his rookie season. He was so solid. A better year than last year? Yeah, 100%. I can see that for sure. I love the signing of Devontae Parker. It gives him a true number one on the outside. Not a bunch of just wide receiver threes thrown into the mix and hoping that somebody can produce every single week. But Mac Jones, in for a better season? I believe so. Lastly, let's talk about Davis Mills for a second, just to give the Houston Texans fans something to watch, because they don't get a whole lot of talk out there in the sports world, and what a surprise he was in 2021. Given all the Deshaun Watson news and drama, he played really well. Sure, expectations were low, but given the team that he had, it was really hard to dislike what he did on the field. The problem is the team is so bad that a lot of his play was kind of forgotten just because they kept on losing ball games. So what happened with him in 2021? You can't really overanalyze this. The team just wasn't good overall. The offense failed to score double-digit points in 7 games last season. Going to be hard to win ball games when you can't even score 10 points. Really had an offense, though, with no weapons outside of Brandon Cooks to throw the ball to consistently. And then with the Deshaun Watson news kind of always hovering around, kind of just put a black cloud over the organization last year because you just never knew what to expect. But what's different this year for Davis Mills? Well, new head coach in Lovie Smith. Watson, no longer in town. He's in Cleveland. They just drafted wide receiver John Mechie out of Alabama, but he's coming off a torn ACL that just happened in the SEC championship game, and he may not be ready for week 1. They also drafted left guard Kenyon Green in the first round. But what's kind of puzzling is they spent a 4th-round pick on running back Dameon Pierce. Nothing against Dameon Pierce, but they already have a bunch of has-beens on their roster, right? You had Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead, Dare Ogunbowale, I think that's how you say it, and Royce Freeman. Sure, none of them are great. But then drafting a rookie in the 4th round when you have so many other needs, kind of odd. Hearing that Davis Mills so far in OTAs this year isn't showing a lot of confidence. That's a little bit head-scratching to me as well. It's going to be another tough year for the Houston Texans. I can't really expect much more than what we saw last year from Davis Mills this year. Huge breakout coming? Probably not. Huge breakout in the future? Probably not either. The Houston Texans have a long way to go, but Davis Mills overall for the team that you have, You done well, young men. But I think one thing we can all agree on is there is a ton of talent here at the quarterback position coming into their second year in the NFL. Which one of these guys do you really want to see excel in 2022? Leave that comment down below. Don't forget to hit the like button. You got a like goal to hit, and you want to make sure you get your draft guide pre-ordered at thefantasyheadliners.com, link down below in the description, so you can be entered in for the signed Deebo Samuel helmet here. Looking forward to giving that away, but hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, a great week, and we'll talk to you later.
I'm a headliner.